Welcome to Nextfem Leaders, the podcast for conscious, ambitious women who want to make a real impact with their careers without losing themselves or their well-being in the process. I'm Isabel, your host, a leadership coach with over 13 years of corporate experience. I know how hard it is to lead in systems that were not built for us, especially if you're introvert, kind, intuitive, or spiritual. So here I will share the tools that blend the practical and the mystical, the feminine and the masculine, so that you can lead with clarity, confidence, and authenticity. If you know in your bones you're meant for much more, you are in the right place. So let's start! Hello, beautiful woman. Welcome back to the Nextfem Leaders Podcast. After an amazing first season in 2025, we were actually awarded a 2025 instant hit by Spotify, and thank you to all of you for that. We took a break in January and February, and now we're back with even more power to support you in becoming your next level in 2026. One of the reasons for that winter break is because I want to be very intentional about the content we put out there, and for that, space and quiet was needed. As a little update, our episodes will come live every other Wednesday at 7 a.m. And if you haven't yet, I will invite you to follow the podcast and to subscribe to our monthly newsletter to be the first one to know any updates in this beautiful community. So now let's jump into today's episode. Today I want to explore a topic that is truly at the core of the work I do as an executive and leadership coach with women. How to take your leadership skills to the next level. And this applies whether you are starting your career, whether you are a manager, or already in a senior leadership role, even if you are an individual contributor or a freelancer who works for herself. Because the key here is not about managing others, it's about becoming the next version of yourself as a leader. And no matter where you are, there is always a next level. And this is something that sometimes I believe we forget. As we progress in our careers, we become an expert in certain areas, and we tend to forget that the next level will also ask us to become a different version of ourselves, and again, to become new at something. If you are part of this community, it means two things. The first one, you want to create an impact with the work you do. And the second one, you want to do it differently from the leadership models that we have seen so far. And that already makes you a leader of a new movement. I recently heard Simon Sinek defining leaders as those who go first. And I completely agree. If you're here, I know you are one of those women who are going first, redefining female leadership, integrating both the masculine and the feminine, the practical and the mystical, in your career and the way you lead. So let's really define what leadership skills are in 2026. And when we strip it all back, a leader is someone who creates the conditions for others to grow while still holding a clear direction and vision. And when we think about that, aren't we just describing a mother? The funny thing is that when I started studying leadership some years ago, the research kept pointing to the same core skills again and again. Relationships, collaboration, communication, empathy. And I remember thinking, these are exactly the skills the women I coach already have. So why do we often believe we don't have what it takes to be a great leader? There is really interesting research from Stenker and Folkman reinforcing this clearly. They did a large-scale analysis of 360 degrees assessment where women were rated as more effective than men in 17 out of 19 leadership competencies. In particular, they were strong in taking initiative, resilience, driving for results, developing others, inspiring and motivating teams, and displaying high integrity and honesty. Women were also rated highly in bold leadership and in practicing self-development, demonstrating the combination of courage, growth mindset, and influence that usually makes exceptional leaders. Men were rated slightly higher in only two areas, developing strategic perspective and technical or professional expertise. And even there, the differences were really small. Their data also showed that when women were asked to assess themselves, they were not as generous in their ratings. And for me, this confirms what I have seen in the work I do with women. That is rarely about teaching leadership from scratch. The strength is already there, especially the courage to step forward, the resilience to navigate complexity, and the ability to drive results while developing and inspiring others. The real work lies in unlearning limiting social conditioning, strengthening confidence earlier in our careers, and fully recognizing the power of the leadership qualities that we are already bringing to the table. In simple words, the real work lies in taking ourselves out of the middle of our growth. And here is something I notice often. We're so focused on what the next level will give us, the promotion, the title, the recognition, that we rarely take the time to really explore what it will ask from us. So today I want to dive into 5 things your next level will ask from you. Because stepping up isn't about wanting more, it's about being ready to show up differently, fully, and intentionally, in ways that might stretch you beyond your comfort zone. Before we go any further, I want to name something important. Here I'm not denying the gender bias of the workplace. I'm not of the idea that all change we need is women's responsibility. There is a system that needs to evolve, and many of the barriers we are facing are structural and cultural. But this podcast is about the part that we can learn to manage. So our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. Because that's where our power is. The world will continue underestimating you many times. But what I want is that you don't underestimate yourself or let their beliefs distract you from the vision you're building. So the first thing that your next level will ask from you is to think strategically. Your next level of leadership requires you to think strategically not only about the company, but about your career and your life. I truly believe the first person we have to lead before we even try to lead others is ourselves. And what I refer to with this, when we talk about self-leadership or leadership from within, is having a clear understanding of all the multiple team members that we have inside, a clear vision, and acting as your own inner CEO. And again, it's this idea of having such an understanding of all your emotions, your beliefs, and your behaviors that you are able to manage them and make them work for you for your success, instead of against it. Your next level will ask you to invest time and energy into the long-term vision. And a vision is not a plan. It's your why translated into your career and your life. What you want to work towards and why it matters to you. But here is the key. Your vision isn't fixed, and it changes over time, and it needs to be reviewed, updated, and refined as you grow and as circumstances shift in your life. I remember a client who suddenly became the director of a company in the red. A position she didn't even wanted, but got into because he was the only person that could do it at the moment. She was in the last 5 to 10 years of her career, and due to personal life events, she had lost clarity around her vision. She was facing so many challenges in how to restructure the organization. The first thing we did when we worked together was reconnect her to what mattered most. What was her vision, what was her legacy, and why it was important. We took time to clarify whether she didn't want the role or she thought she was not able to do it. And once she had clarity on what she wanted, her actions naturally shift. She started facing the challenges one by one and trusting her gut while taking some radical decisions. And here is the fascinating part. 1 year later, the company wasn't just out of the red, it was planning an expansion. And this shows the power of focus when we really get clear on what we want. So coming back to you, are you clear on your vision and your why? Are you investing time and energy in it? If you haven't listened yet, we talk about connecting to your vision in episode 5 of this podcast. And here is a little exercise for you. I want to invite you to ask yourself if I knew I'm guaranteed success and I didn't care about other people's judgments? What would I build for myself in 5 years? And then I want you to take a closer look of your daily actions and start asking yourself, are these aligned to that? Even if it's just one small adjustment, the clarity will start steering your leadership in the right direction. If you haven't reviewed your vision recently, set aside some time to do that. Highlight one area to redefine and make it actionable. Now, the second thing your next level will ask from you is to step into a new identity. When I created my coaching program, Becoming Her, it was because I became obsessed with this concept of identity. Becoming means starting to be. We don't become our next level by waiting, we become by starting to be her. And this isn't just nice words I say. It's rooted in science, in neuroscience, and in quantum physics. Someone who has done incredible work in bringing this science into personal development is Dr. Joe Dispenza. His work is based on the understanding that we are energy and our thoughts, feelings, and actions are vibrations that shape our reality. He explains that when we consistently act, think, and feel like the person we want to become, we rewire our brain, creating new neural pathways and begin to shift our reality by that. He also teaches about collapsing timelines. The fastest way to move from where you are to where you want to be is to collapse the timeline between your present self and your future self by living today as this future has already arrived. On this understanding, your future self is not something you wait to meet, it's something you step into now, moment by moment, through deliberate choices and behaviors. In simple terms, acting like your future self today rewires your brain to make the future real faster. And if you look back in your story, I'm sure you can find at least one example in your life where you were so sure and focused about something that you beat the odds and things seem to align in your favor. By feeling certain about it, what you were doing was acting like the person that already had it. But here is the truth. To step into the next version, your current version has to die. And this is why the in-between phases feel so uncomfortable, because at the same time you're getting glimpses of your new self, but there is also old patterns that keep pulling you back. And this in-between moment often comes with grief for what it was, with discomfort of acting differently, and many times it also comes with your environment shifting or pushing back. And this is something I observe every time I step into my next level. My circles and friendships shift. Some will stay with time through my evolution, some will have temporary distance, and some will just not fit anymore. And this can bring a lot of discomfort, especially when we don't fully understand the process. And it is also the reason why many people don't allow themselves their growth, because the environment that was comfortable with who you were before might not be comfortable with a new version of you. And in reality, when you shrink yourself to fit your old version, you leave no space for the new version to come. I had a client leading the biggest project her company had ever had, and she realized that to lead effectively, she had to let go of her need to always be liked. She had to stop avoiding difficult conversations. She had to step into authority without apologizing and challenge her own people-pleasing patterns. Many times the identity we need to let go of is the one that got us so far in life. And I believe this is not really about becoming someone different or misaligning with your own values, but more understanding your strength, not only the ones you have been comfortable with, but all of them, and learning when to tap into each of them. In my client's example, her empathy was making it hard to have a more assertive role. But when we explore it, being clear with her team and colleagues about the risk of the project was also being of service to them. So at this time, she had to step into her courage, a strength she had clearly developed over time, but she was not fully owning in her career. The project went really well with her leadership, and her environment was quite grateful of how she led from a grounded yet assertive place. But for this to happen, she had to embrace the discomfort of this transition. Now, I want you to think about your next version. Who is she? And I want you to take a moment to write down 3 qualities she has that your current self hasn't fully owned yet. Then I want you to just pick one action this week that step into that next self. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting, maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't serve you anymore, or setting a boundary you have been avoiding. I always say to my clients, new identities are built by taking small steps which compound into transformation. Now, point number 3. The third thing your next level will ask from you is to manage your emotions at a higher level. Your next version will require you stepping up into emotional management. As your role expands, your emotional capacity has to expand too. The real difference between us and a famous CEO is not the intelligence or technical expertise, but the ability to sit with uncertainty, pressure, stress, and discomfort to hold a higher level of that without collapsing. When I became an entrepreneur, my first year was a nightmare. I wanted to quit. I hit rock bottom at some point, and I thought my discomfort was my intuition saying this is not for me. So I quit, and I tried to come back to where I was before, just to discover in only a few interviews that my intuition clearly said this is not the way. Then I realized that my discomfort was not intuition. It was pure avoidance and anxiety. Because behind what I was going on, there was growth. So I focused on regulating my nervous system, to sit with challenge and uncertainty in a higher level, and to step forward anyway. That's what expanding your leadership capacity really means. You might be thinking, okay, Issa, so how do I know when it's intuition and when it's anxiety and avoidance? And I believe the answer is how is your nervous system at that moment. Intuition is a calm, quiet, and grounded inner knowing that arises when your nervous system is regulated. Anxiety or fear is typically coming with urgency, panic, tension, and a need for immediate action. It's a more noisy voice in your head. Another excellent question to ask yourself at that moment is, if I knew I had all the resources to be successful, will I want to do it? Then it becomes clear that the problem is not that you don't want, but that you believe you can't. Or if it's you don't want, like with me on the interviews, then it becomes clear that you actually don't want. The key takeaway I want you to know here is that your next level will ask you for an update in your nervous system regulation tools. What was serving you to deal with a previous level of stress might no longer be enough. And that was my case when I shifted from a corporate role to an entrepreneurship role. All the tools that I have, they were actually really good tools, were not being enough because the amount of uncertainty I was holding was way higher. And as your responsibilities and impact grow, the ways you manage pressure and uncertainty need to evolve too. If you want to go deeper into nervous system regulation, I highly recommend the book Burnout by the sisters Emily and Emilia Nagoski. They explain the stress cycle and give practical guidance on how to complete it, helping you to process stress fully rather than let it hold you back. It has been a game changer for me for building resilience and stepping into the next version with calm and clarity. Now, number 4. Your next level will ask you to commit to one path. It will ask you to commit. This is where getting clear on your vision becomes so important, and also learning how to manage your emotions. When you are clear on who you are becoming, you can make decisions quicker by just checking if they are aligned with that vision. And they don't have to bring you immediately to the vision, but they have to be a step towards it. This is something I ask my clients all the time. Does this bring you to a step closer to the vision? Then it is aligned. I see so many women getting distracted by keeping 100 options open without taking action on any of them. And often they believe that if they make a choice, it's forever and irreversible. They think that having options is freedom, but it couldn't be more of the opposite. True freedom comes from commitment and discipline. Mastery comes from commitment. While you're keeping 12 options open without action, you're losing energy. Only action gives you clarity. There is studies from McKinsey and Lean-In organization confirming that women often hesitate to act on opportunities due to the fear of making the wrong choice. But commitment aligned with a clear vision creates momentum and clarity. And even if you make the wrong choice, trying an option gives you so much feedback, while thinking about 12 possible paths takes you so much energy. And the truth is, with time, you might be able to do the 12, but you need to choose one to start. And this is something I have seen myself in my own business. After 3 years, I did everything I wanted to do in year 1, but it just took longer. And in the meantime, I had to commit myself to choose. Commitment starts with clarity, so looking at all the options you're holding open right now and ask, which one truly aligns with my vision? Circle in it and take one concrete step this week towards it. Even an action in the wrong direction is better than overthinking 12 possible paths because it gives you feedback. So now I want to invite you to write down one decision that you have been hesitating and commit to the very next step. Momentum comes from action. Okay, so now point number 5. Your next level will ask from you to not focus only on being an expert. Marshall Goldsmith and Sally Hansen, in their book How Women Rise, a book I highly recommend to every woman, mention overvaluating expertise as one of the habits that hold women back in their careers. I wish I had learned this earlier in my life, and it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about the work I do, because I learned it the hard way. So many of us have what I call the good student syndrome, learning, becoming experts on something at a technical level and working hard. It is in our comfort zone. When I started my business, I was already a coach for a while, but my instinct took me into the first 6 months to go fully into how to be the best coach. I closed myself in my little office and I worked hard late at night. I studied so much, I practiced so much, and after some months, when I didn't see the business flourishing as I wanted, I was in a full drama mode one day with my partner, and he told me, Isa, I have seen you working so hard these past months, but if you keep being a secret, you will just become the best kept secret. This is still to this day one of those biggest aha moments I have had in my career, and one that brought to light how much focus I have been putting on the technical side. And of course, if we look at how women arrive into the workplace, it was by being good students and studying hard. But inside us, we all know that while we are becoming better experts and working harder, there is always Brad who works half as much and makes his way up quicker. So with this, I'm not saying expertise or technical knowledge is not needed. What I'm saying is that it's not the thing that will take you farther, especially the higher you go in our organization. The higher you go, the more likely is that you will have experts below you, and your job will be less about being an expert. And if you are early in your career, learn from our mistakes. While you might want to put effort into expertise, know that it has to be balanced with other kinds of power. Something mentioned in the book How Women Rise is the theory of the 4 powers from Ted Jenkins. So there is 4 powers you need to take into consideration. The first one is positional power. This is the authority that your role gives you. The second one is relational power. This is your ability to build networks, influence, and relationships. The third one is your expert power. This is your knowledge, your skills, and your expertise. And the fourth one is your personal power. So your confidence, your presence, and your courage to lead authentically. So the question becomes, what are you doing to build powers in these other 3 areas beyond your expertise? Because leadership is not only about being the best at what you do, it's about influence, presence, relationships, and courage. It doesn't matter how amazing your work is if you are not making it visible or communicating its value. So, beautiful women, we arrive at the end of our episode. So let's do a little recap as you told me you love this. These are the 5 things that your next level will ask from you. 1. Think strategically. Invest time and energy in your long-term vision. Lead yourself first and review and redefine your vision as you grow. 2. Step into a new identity. Start acting, thinking, and feeling like the person you want to become. And this means also letting go of the old version of yourself and stepping into a new one. 3. Managing your emotions at a higher level. Expanding your emotional capacity to sit with more uncertainty, pressure, and discomfort without collapsing. 4. Commitment to one path, focusing on one clear direction aligned with your vision. Action, discipline, and commitment create clarity and momentum. And the last one, not focusing only on being an expert. Technical expertise is important, but leadership is about influence, vision, and power. So building beyond your technical skills to live effectively. I want to invite you to pick one of these 5 actions today and step into it fully. That's how your next level starts showing up. And I would love to hear what were your main takeaways. And with that, I will see you in our next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you love what you heard, let me know on Instagram at Nextfem Leaders or send your thoughts and reflections to info@isabelfonseca.com. I truly would love to hear from you. And if it resonates with you, I would be so grateful if you left a review or a comment so that it helps more conscious, ambitious women to find this space. And please don't keep it for yourself. Send it to another woman you know who needs to hear this message today. Keep leading with your truth and remember, you already are a Nextfem leader.